So I'm pretty excited about this. Our keynote speaker here is Kevin West. Kevin is the founder and CEO of Invisible Insights, Inc. He resides in Sugar Creek, Ohio, which is right here in town, and serves his clients as a business advisor, high-performance coach, and serves as a contributor on the Forbes Coaches Council. Kevin works to provide insight and results based on development for his clients, mentoring them on the invisibles, the key frameworks behind organizational, professional, and growth and success. So everybody, welcome Kevin, and I look forward to this.
All right. Hey. Pretty wicked cool to be here today. There's 40 years. I heard over 220 people, and somebody in business for 40 years rocking the free world and doing some damage, and you got to like that. So congratulations to all of you. And what's really interesting about being around a group of people all gathered together to really think about what it means to go to the next level and really plan that out and be strategic about your growth, about your development, about where you're going and what you're doing. It's dynamically important. And it's a game changer for you and your business. And so today, what I first should tell you a little bit about myself. I moved here. I grew up in Southwest Detroit. I grew up in a neighborhood that if you saw kids with a baseball bat, you didn't ask them how the game was. Okay, you turned and you walked the other way. Okay, and I'll never forget the morning that I moved to Sugar Creek. It was 1998. The morning that I moved, I was walking down on the street, and I had a hoodie on, and I was walking. It was a morning, and I was just kind of doing my quiet time. I'm walking along, and a police car pulls up, and I had a Walkman. They had Walkmen back then, before iPods and everything else. But I put my hands in my hoodie to turn off my Walkman. And both of the police officers jumped out of the car, pulled their guns, and I'm laying on the hood of the car in front of all of our neighbors, okay? They're all on their porch, the lights are on, I'm on the hood, I have no idea why. And I'm laying there, and they're going, who are you going? I said, I'm doing my quiet time. They go, what's that? And I go, I'm praying. I'm walking and I'm praying, what's going on? And it was just this whole crazy moment. All these other police cars pulled up, and here what happened was the 7-Eleven on the corner got robbed, and I matched the description of the person. And what was really crazy is we moved to Sugar Creek that day, so my neighbors probably think that I was the person who robbed the 7-Eleven because they never saw me again after that. And then I moved to Bars Mills, Ohio. I don't know if you're from the area, but I moved to Bars Mills, which moving from Detroit to Bars Mills was a big culture shock for me. I woke up that morning and I heard something that I thought was dying outside, and here someone had put a goat in my ditch. And I'm looking at this goat, and I had no idea what this is about. Why is there a goat in the ditch? And everybody's kind of waving at me, how you doing, neighbor? And then finally a guy walked across the street and he says, I put that goat in your ditch so you wouldn't have to mow it. Wasn't going to mow that ditch anyway, but that's okay. It all worked out. And so in the last 20 years, loved living here in Sugar Creek. It's a blast. My children have all grown up here. It's an unbelievable place to raise a family. Great people, and people that deeply care about not only just the relationships that they have with one another, but the people in this area, and I'm sure you experience this in the culture of DAC, but they're committed to each other's success. You know, there's a lot of wind in the sails that blows when you got a team, and you feel like people are behind you. And it sounds like just even a little bit I've had a chance to talk with the team, that's exactly what they're trying to do and provide for you. So my hope today is to do that for you, to give you some things to walk out of here with and to be tactical about. I'm not just going to do a rah-rah speech. I'm really going to try to give you some tactical and practical things that you can take back to your organizations to take them to another level, because everybody in this room is going to double their sales in 2023. Am I right? Oh, come on. Give me a big woohoo on that one. You're going to double your sales this year, right? Woohoo! true. Yes. You're going to get after it. You're going to do the work to take it to another level. And so that's kind of what I do for my clients. When I sit down with my clients, we talk about very practical, very tactical ways that we need to level up. And usually I make them do things they don't want to do and have some conversations they don't want to have. And really ultimately so they can be what they want to be. And I think that's what a great coach does. So today, we're going to do a skull session. I'm going to treat you just like I would if I was sitting with a group of my clients, and we're going to walk through some slides and some concepts and unpack those things. And this is what I need you to do. If you got a pen and a pad in front of you, I want you to write 3 categories. I want you to write my business, my team, and myself. My business, my team, and myself. Because each of these kinds of principles that we're going to pack, I call them invisibles. These invisibles are going to apply to one of those 3 things. It's either going to be talking about your team, we're going to be talking about your business, or we're going to be talking about you. Because let me tell you something, your business will never exceed that of your growth. If you're not growing in your own personal and professional life, your business will never exceed that of you. You are the lid. You are the limitation. And so how do we do that? What do we do with that? So let's unpack this, because it's really not about what you're doing, it's about who you're becoming. You ready to dig in? Give me a big woohoo. All right. So now this last few years, we entered into some uncharted waters. Would you agree with me? And the tension that we experienced is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of ambiguity. And what ambiguity is the millions of people's interpretation of all the uncertainty. So in 2020, we had to tolerate it. In 21 and 22, we kind of managed it. But in 2023, we have to take charge and lead through this thing. We have to be in control. We have to set the frame. Because society has drifted more towards a negative bent. Would you agree with me? Every conversation begins with the negative. We cannot fall into that current. We cannot get sucked in to that dynamic. We have to be the world changers in terms of how people perceive what's forward and what can happen and what's possible. And the energy you have to bring to that is so, so incredible. Are you with me? Are you with me? Yes. So let's take a look at this. The key here is 3 things. We got to be strategic. We have to be intentional. We have to be disciplined. And we have to position ourselves for accelerated growth. Not just growth. Not just growth. Accelerated growth. And we're going to unpack what that looks like. We're going to talk about what that looks like today. So the first invisible essential that we have to look at here is we have to understand one big important concept. And it's the biggest one we have to get out of the way if we're going to go to another level. I talk about this with my clients all the time. We have this because we get stuck so easily. And if you've ever been stuck, you know how hard it is to get unstuck. So talent and experience is your enemy. Are you with me? Talent and experience is your enemy. Because talent experience leads to automatic. And what you have to do is we have to, and that fixed mindset that we get into holds us back. We need to constantly be in a growth mindset. Those questions that you were asking, those kinds of, you can never stop doing that. You have to constantly be asking questions. You have to constantly be growing. What are you reading? What are you consuming? Because we have to make a decision to adopt a growth mindset and escape the mountain of average. There is a whole mountain of average out there. I've learned this. When I first started writing for Forbes, they gave me this list of all these people that I could interview for them. And as I was going through the list of people I could interview, I started finding that there were people who were best in the world at what they did. And as I started interviewing those people, and as I started writing about these people, and putting these pieces together, I started realizing that there were a lot of patterns for these people who are best in the world at what they do. I talked to people who've been in space. I've talked to people who are professional rodeo people, clowns, rodeo clowns. Can you believe it? They're like best in the world rodeo clowns. I've never knew that. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Poker players. I've talked to everybody that I could in a broad sense of the people who are best in the world at what they do. And you know what's crazy about it? They all would confess that they know this much. This is how much I know. This is how much I can learn. They were always learning something new. Every conversation we had was built around the idea of, what are you learning right now? How are you developing yourself? What new things are you testing? You know, where are you experiencing your own growth and development? That's where that is. And they have made decisions. Someone told me this, and it was really wild because they said, there's a mountain of average out there. I don't want to be in the mountain of average. I want to be in the top 2%. And I started looking at it through the lens of, what are those top 2% behaviors? What are those top 2% behaviors? One of those, in some cases, if you're in sales, one of those top 2% behaviors is going to be making that extra call each day. Following up when you could be going home. That how you start your day matters, doesn't it? What you bring, what kind of energy you bring to people. Next level. Where does that and what does that look like for you? So when we talk about a growth mindset, go back to your list. Is the growth mindset something you need to develop in your business? Is the growth mindset you need to do with your team? Or does the growth mindset need to happen in you? Where does that go? And this is the audience participation part of the program. You should be writing some stuff down. You need to put yourself in there somewhere. With me so far? Okay. I don't know if you're buying what I'm selling, but that's okay, because we're just getting started. Okay. Here's why. And what we have to understand is there are different success levels we experience in business. And when I sit down with my clients, I talk with them about the idea that there is success level 1. If we look at the circle on the left, that's success level 1. And that's where we're competent and we're certain and we're safe. And we're competent, we're certain, we're safe. And then we try to perfect and we try to protect and we try to scale in that little circle. We try to grow that little circle. And we always try to avoid, would you agree with me? We always try to avoid conflict and struggle. I don't like conflict, I don't like struggle. I don't want to have those difficult conversations. I don't want to be too sell. Everybody's got their own version of what conflict and struggle looks like. But then we look over to the right and we see success level 2. And in success level 2, that's a much bigger circle. There's a whole lot more opportunity in success level 2. But who lives there? Well, you know who lives there? The people that are okay with being incompetent, uncertain, and criticized. They're taking risks, they're thrashing, they're growing. Let me give an example of this. So if we look at success level 1, and in there we were to put like New York City taxi cab drivers. And then all of a sudden, a company comes along that competes with them, and they start in success level 2. Anyone want to take a stab at who that is? Uber. Success level 1, Marriott, Four Seasons. Success level 2, Airbnb. You see where I'm going with this? Listen, somebody out there is coming after you. There's always going to be a competitor. There's always going to be somebody who's going to try to find a better way or a different approach or make a different promise. And we have to be committed in that growth level. And we talked about being above that mountain of average and being in that top 2%. To say, what are those success level 2 kind of things that we need to be bringing to our team? The problem is in order to do that, we have to change the C word. Nobody likes change. We've been doing it that way. I had some guy doing, I've been here for 25 years. You know, give me one of those things. And I said, yeah. But it's been year 2 23 times. Wrong answer. So let's not let that happen to us. Listen, and you know how I know it's not going to happen? It's because you're here. That's why I know it's not going to happen. It's the way that your approach and how you're looking to get better and how you're coming together and you're sitting down and giving up day to come and sit around and say, hey, how do we improve? How do I understand? How can I sell better? How can I go to another level? So hats off to all of you. We're on that road. This is an exact story that goes along with that Success Level 2 mindset. Because a lot of the improvements you can make in your business don't cost you a penny. This guy's name is Takeru Kobayashi. Takeru Kobayashi. I heard that, what? And so Takeru Kobayashi, he wanted to win the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. July 4th in New York City on Coney Island, they have a hot dog eating contest, believe it or not. And people come from all over the world, and he practiced eating hot dogs. What was interesting was the record at the time was 25 hot dogs. But what Takeru Kobayashi did at home is he realized that if he could break a hot dog in half, and he could stick the hot dog in the water, and shove the hot dog in his mouth, the water would give him a drink, and he wouldn't have to use his hands to get a drink. He actually invented a better way to eat the hot dog. Now, when he showed up that day, which is really crazy, he shows up that day, they think he's trying to sneak on the stage, and he was almost arrested. I know that world. So what happens is, all of a sudden, he gets on the stage, they're thinking, who is this kid? And he blows the competition out of the water. Look at up behind it, there's a little blue placard that says 50 on it. He broke the record. He doubled the record. And it blew everybody's minds. Look at this little kid. You should have seen the size of the other people he was competing against. Who is this guy? And what is he bringing to the table? He had a 2% mindset. He was thinking Success Level 2. Listen, there's two businesses, friends and neighbors, there's two businesses you're building. The one that you're in and the one you're becoming. You need to be spending time thinking about the business you're becoming. It's okay to do. You got to take care of what's in front of you. I get it. I totally get it. I sit down with my clients all the time, and we talk about who we are, where we're going, and what we're doing. But we have to be in the present and in the future at the same time. And if you're a business owner and you want to grow your business, you have to learn that. You have to get that skill down. Because what he changed the whole industry. Everybody changed how they did it from that day on. Matter of fact, what's really even funnier about that placard, the flip over kind ended at 26. The poor girl had to keep writing numbers on a yellow pad the whole time. And if you ever watch the video, it's hysterical because she can't keep up. It's something, listen, what does that look like for you? What does that look like for you? What are those things that you need to do to improve how you do customer service, how you answer the phone, how you follow up, how you engage customers, how you answer questions? How do you improve those things? What does that look like? I just want to challenge you. So, when it comes to, is it your company? Is it your business? Is it your team? Or is it you? What does that look like? Let's keep going. So the next invisible essential you need to think about is avoid the hamster wheel of the time in myth. And again, that's the guy who says, I've been here for 25 years. It's been year 23, or year 23 times. It's in there. But here's the question you have to ask. Do I have a long-term accelerated growth strategy? Do I have a strategy for how I'm going to grow? And I'm sure you've talked about that today. I'm sure you've thought about that. And we're going to dig into some more tacticals on that one. But let me give you some focal points to think about. So I need you to write these down because I think these are important. Don't forget these. Okay? When I coach every client that I work with, these are the 5 things we talk about every time we're getting together. So the first one is clarity. The second one is energy. The third one is courage. 4th is productivity. 5 is influence. These are the 5 focal points of high performance. Every high performer what I interviewed and I talked to, they had unbelievable clarity. They knew where they were going. They knew what their goals were. They knew what they had to do each day to accomplish those goals, and that gave them incredible energy. When they had good energy, it always pushed them to the point where they had to have courage. That meant they had to take a risk. That meant they had to try something they'd never done before. They had to put some changes in place. It might upset some people. But they entered into that frame. And eventually, their productivity got squared away because their priorities were set. And then at the end, everybody wanted a piece of them. They became a person of interest. People in the community started flocking to them saying, hey, how are you doing this? And then they became a person of interest and a company of interest. And other companies were saying, what can we learn from you? That's the challenge. That's the goal. So working through these 5 things in your own business is really important. That's a great framework for you to say, do we have clarity? Is our energy really matching that level of clarity? Is there some things that we don't have the courage to really attack and deal with right now and really push? And are we productive? And our priorities, are they really clear? Do we know what they are? Because you know how many people tell me, how many people do you think tell me how busy they are? Matter of fact, how many conversations do you have where you say, I'm just so busy? That, with my clients, is a no-no. We're not busy. We're on purpose. And when we have priorities, we have capacity. Because priorities equal capacity. So we might be doing a lot of things we shouldn't be doing. Let's get under the hood of that. There might be some courage to say no that we might need to be thinking about. I make a lot of my clients do a stop doing list and not a start doing list. So what does that look like for you? Does that go in the, hey, this is my business, this is my team, or this is myself? What does that look like? Let's get into some of these. Clarity. Your ability to bring clarity to yourself and those you lead is vital in your success and influence. Plain and simple. It's clear. It's so important. What do you do to get clarity? Well, let me give you something. When you look at every area of your business, I want you to do this. I want you to take a sheet of paper and I want you to write down all the elements of your business. Customer service, customer fulfillment, shipping, everything, sales, all those things. And you write that list of all of them down, and then you write this down. So when it comes to sales, what are 3 questions that I have about sales? Really deep. What are 3 questions? And then what are 2 concerns? If I've got 3 good questions, I'm probably going to have a couple of concerns. And if I have 3 questions and 2 concerns, what's one focus that I need to be thinking about right now, that I need to be working on? How do I get under the hood of this? Where do I need to make a move? Where do I need to make a change? How do I affect this in a positive way? What does that look like? 3 questions, 2 concerns, 1 focus. Listen, this is called productive paranoia because you need to be paranoid about your success. We're always worried about what we're going to lose. Don't waste your time, friends. Don't waste your time. Be worried about what you're going to do to go to the next level. That energy will come back to you tenfold. You gain nothing about worrying about what you're going to lose. Focus on winning. Focus on the next level. The second thing is energy. Your energy is always going to pave the way and to inspire to impact those around you in ways you could not imagine. Let me tell you something. When I lead my teams, and I've had a number of teams over the years, my team's energy will never exceed that of mine. It's usually 2 below. So if I show up in my environment, if I show up in my work environment and I'm operating an energy level at a 6, they're at a 4. If I come in at an 8, they're at a 6. So if I know that it's key for my business to be successful and I need my team to be operating at an 8, what do I need to be bringing every day? A 10. Now, how do you do that, friend? You take care of yourself. You get your sleep. You prioritize your morning. You make sure you have your priorities in place. You get very serious about what you bring to the table. For me, I have triggers. So whenever I go through a doorway, I'm always checking my energy level. It's just something that I do. So doorways are triggers for me. When I go through a doorway, am I at an 8? Am I at a 9? Am I at 10? What do I need to be at? In this case, when I walked on the stage, I went, dude, I got to be at 10. I want to be at 10, energy level. If I'm scaring you a little bit, that's okay. It's on purpose. If it gets you to a 7 or an 8, I'm all right. Then you guys get to leave out of here and go, 1. Think about it, because this happens. I don't know if you guys have ever, I'll tell you like how this works. So I went to a NASCAR race once. Guess what driving home after a NASCAR race is like? Right? It's crazy. Everybody's like in their own little NASCAR driving out of that place, man. It's like, hello. That's what you bring to your team. Listen, they're never going to exceed that of you. If you are the leader, you better bring your A game. Your A game. And not just one day, not just 2 days, but every day. Every day. Are you with me so far? Give me a woohoo. Love it. Love it. So the next invisible essential is this: how you manage your energy impacts your influence. And again, this whole idea, it will never exceed that of the leader. But here's the question I want you to hit on. Do people feel better about themselves when they've been around you? I'm going to give you a second to write that one down. Do people feel better about themselves when they've been around you? You got to leave them better than when you found them. Because I don't want anybody running away from me when I show up next time. So what does that look like? And how do you bring that success level 2 concept to how you interact with people? Now, I'm not advocating you go and bring a level 10 energy and scare folks. Like you walk in and kick the door down and go, hey, that's not going to go too well, I don't think. But still, there has to be an approach and a purpose involved. And people need to feel better about themselves when they've been around you. Let's keep going. Next one is courage. Courage is always an opportunity for growth, and it builds internal confidence to face future risks and challenges. Let me tell you something. You already know, all right, I'm leaning forward on this one because I know you know this, so this is the big thing. You already know what you need to have courage about and what you're holding back on and what you're avoiding. You already know what you need to be dealing with. You know the conversation you need to have. I just go ahead and write it down right now. You know the name of the person. You know the situation. You know what it is. You know what you're avoiding, and you're creatively avoiding it. And it's holding your business back, and it's holding your leadership back. And you're going to need to take a minute and get your courage together. And here's the deal. If you say, well, I don't have the courage, then let me ask you a question. Maybe we don't have the clarity. Maybe we need to go back and sit down and get really clear about what it is that we want to say, what it is that we need to do. And then guess what? That clarity will give you a little bit of that energy. You'll get the pep. And then you'll get the courage to lean into it. I have that all the time with clients. Sometimes we have to have tough conversations. And when you have business, I'm sorry, there's the crazy thing about business is it takes people. And I don't know about you, but, I have my own levels of dysfunction. I don't know, maybe you guys are great and perfect, but I'm not. I know how messed up I am and what I got to work on. You guys have yours too. So in a way, we just have to go and be real about it and just dig into the fact that, hey, maybe I really need to lean into this and have the kind of conversation I need to have. Are you guys okay? Is everyone okay? I just want to make sure we're okay. All right, I got a couple of whoos. Thank you over there. I appreciate that. Because engaging your fears does open the door to the next level. And fear gets really loud when you want to do something that matters. When you really want to make a difference, when you really want to attack a big goal, we start worrying about what people are going to think. We start worrying about what people are going to say, especially when we put it out there. And we know fear can affect our focus. We're fear of regret. We have the fear of failure, right? The biggest fear that I encounter is the fear of responsibility. Would you guys agree with me on that one? That's the biggest fear. And you know what? That's why clarity and energy and courage is so important. It's so important. It is a way, and someone will say, well, doesn't that slow things down? Yeah, but sometimes slow with people is fast, and fast with people is slow. And you know what? Sometimes we have to seek to understand before we are understood. And so let's do that. Let's not avoid the fear. Let's run to the fear. Because I will guarantee you this, everybody I've coached that had to go through those situations, when it came to the other side, there was nothing behind it. There was nothing there. All that fear, all the stuff you tell yourself, it all went away. And all of a sudden, now we have momentum. And momentum is your friend. Let's talk about productivity, because that's where the momentum shows up. Productivity is the pathway to consistently building capacity. You need to pursue your vision and your ambitions. And you need to be thinking through your vision and your ambitions. Do you have active strategies to avoid distraction? Because that's what can get us sometimes. We get distracted. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for all the other sideways energy that can happen. Hey, what are my priorities? Every senior leadership team that I meet with, that I sit on, I've always asked them, hey, everybody at the table's got to share their top 3 priorities. It's always kind of funny. But usually there's a guy who says, this is my number 1 priority, and the CEO goes, no, it's not. Your number 3 priority should be your number 1 priority. Just sitting around the table talking about what your priorities are is a great way to get on the same page. Because everybody has, a way of moving towards the things we like to do, not the things that really are the most impactful or move the needle. So what does that look like for you? That might be a good practice you might need to think about. Let's go on to the next one. This is called the 64-4 rule. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. It will take a minute. But I'm just going to focus on the top part of this. How many of you guys have ever heard of the Pareto principle? So the Pareto principle says this: 20% of what you do will get you 80% of the results. 20% of the people eat 80% of the food. 20% of the people pay 80% of the taxes. You can go down the list. There's a whole bunch of that. But what happens if you really took a look at 20% of the 20%, which is really ultimately like 4% there, and you really focused on the things that really, really mattered? I think you would find that the impact of that would be incredible. And I will say this, most of the time, it lives in the world of your customers. It lives in the world of getting in there and understand their problems. My coach taught me this, and I'll share this with you because I think it applies here, because this became like a 20% of the 20%er for me. He said, Kevin, if you can say your customers' problems better than they can say their problems, they're going to give you the power to solve them. If I understand their problems better, and I can even say them better than they can, they're going to go, oh, and then they're going to trust you to be the voice that helps them figure it out. How many guys ever went to the preacher and said, man, you're stepping on my toes? It's like that sometimes. We get it when someone knows us and they feel like they've been reading our mail. We just like, wow, we lean into that. Trust me, that's an unbelievable way to really exercise a higher level of trust with your customers. So here's my question for you. How much time are you spending understanding them? Or are you just trying to give them something? Is it a here, try this? Or is it, hey, I'm really intimate with your issues. I know what your challenges are. What does that look like for you? We're skull session. We're still good? Are we okay? Are you getting some nuggets? I want you to get some nuggets now. Oh, there's more coming. So I'm seeing the clock ticking. I got to get moving. 5, influence is a byproduct of personal and professional momentum and positions you to be a person of interest. Listen, when you do all these other things, people want a piece of you. And it's real easy to go, I'm busy. That's actually the opportunity that you need to flip the other way. You need to invite those opportunities to come to you in a way where you can say, hey, let's leverage this where people are asking for my time and my effort. Build on that. Enjoy it. Understand that when you have everything together, everyone's going to know what your secret sauce is. And so give it to them. So how do you do this? Well, let me tell you some proactive way I do it. And I work with people and sales teams, and we work through this as well. But we always talk about, how do you circulate with purpose? Are you circulating with purpose? And then who are those people? So I always think about, who are the aspirational connections? Who are those people in your area and you thought, wow, if I could just get in front of that guy. If I could just, and I want them to make a list of it. So I want to know what your aspirational contacts are. Who are those people out there that, man, if I could just get their business, if I could just get in the door. Great. I want you to circulate with purpose to them. How are we going to meet with them? How are we going to connect with them? The second thing is growth relationships. This is what I learned. Your top 25 customers tend to be 93% of your revenue. Are they feel cared for? Do you have a deep relationship with them? And it needs to be transformational relationship, not a transactional one. Because if it's a transactional relationship, when someone comes with a different price or with a little bit more attention, they're gone. So am I building a bridge strong enough in my relationships with my key customers to really, really go, man, we're in it together. And I feel like I have that with my clients. I think that's probably one of the best things I love about my job is not just what we do to be successful together, but the relationship we have. I get invited to Christmas parties. I get invited to their kids' baptisms and their birthdays. And that's how I circulate with purpose in their lives. I want to be involved in their life in that way. What does that look like for you? The next is the circle of intimacy. Hey, there's a few people that you have close to you, and you need to have people who know everything about you and still like you anyway. Not easy. It's not easy. I have a group of guys I've been meeting with for the last 15 years who are just that. Every Thursday night, they don't try to fix me. I don't try to fix them. And we just talk about our stuff. And it's the most life-giving relationships I have in my life. You know what? Sometimes we got to have people in our lives we can unpack our stuff with. Because isn't leadership lonely? Isn't running a business lonely sometimes? Everybody's got to have a somebody. Who is that for you? And if you got to write some names down right now, write them down. Don't go home and say, and then forget everything we're talking about. Who are they? Who are the rising stars? Who are the people in the circle of influence? There's always a circle of influence. There are just people. There are people around here. There's a guy that lives around here. His name's Bruce Hampshire. That guy knows everybody. He's probably one of the best dudes around. And he's a guy who spent some time with me, just to spend some time with me and help me work through some stuff I was having to work through. That guy is a man of influence. He touches the lives of so many people. He's probably even spoken here before on some level. Phenomenal guy. If he calls, I don't care what time at night, I'm going to answer the phone. Just because of who he is. That's a guy that we all need to have in our lives. Someone like that. And you know what? Maybe even aspire to be that for someone else. Would you guys agree with me on that one? That's a good swing of the bat. And then you have people who are rising stars, and there are other people of interest that you're looking at. There's people out there you see that young whippersnapper? You know those whippersnappers? I just turned 60, so I call them whippersnappers now because I'm officially a geezer. So I'm a geezer land, just working, man, power to the people. I'm calling it level 6. That's what I'm calling it. But when you get it there, these whippersnappers, there's some rising stars, man. And you know what? We can't be acting like the big shot. We got to take these young whippersnappers under our wings and help these guys be successful. Because success comes in it forms a wind and it gets in everybody's sails. All the boats rise in the harbor when the tide comes in. And we have to be part of their success story. And I know, and here's the thing, this website tells me, well, I'm too busy for that. No, you are not. You are not. Your priorities are messed up, but you're not too busy. Nobody is. You're just probably saying yes to a lot of wrong things. Is everybody okay? All right? Let's keep going. So the one thing I want to unpack here, and the clock is ticking, man, it's like going fast. I'm trying to, I promise I'll try to fit it in. But so we have to get intimate with our ambitions. And it's vital that you attack your ambitions strategically. In other words, if we all have this ambition line of where we're going, up and to the right? And there's growth and there's failure on both sides. The tendency is to take a very slow, very comfortable approach. I'm just going to make sure that I have everything in order. And I have one guy who says, I just got to get my ducks in a row. If he said that one more time, I was going to scream. I had to look at him and go, there are no ducks. There are no ducks. Because that's not the path to success. Because we're ultimately trying to avoid things. What I want you to experience is this. I need you to fail a lot. And when I coach whippersnappers, I do this thing called Whippersnapper University. So I work with 18 to 29-year-old entrepreneurs. And I make them fail like all the time. They go, Coach, how come every time we're together, you make us do stuff that ends up falling apart and is a mess? I said, because that's what business is. Business falls apart and is a mess all the time. It's never perfect. It's a struggle, and we have to honor the struggle. We have to honor it. We have to embrace it. We have to know that's part of the story. And so as we honor the struggle, it's going to look like this, up and down. But guess what? Is every failure higher than the last one? Yes. Are you learning more as you continue to move forward in your failures? Yes, more than you would ever doing it this way. You have so much of an education if you just risk and really apply success level 2 to what you're doing, the business you're becoming. Are you with me so far? Give me a woohoo. All right, I'm checking. I got to make sure you're all there. So a mindset of mastery is kind of what we're shooting for. You got to build professional momentum. When you dabble in something, it's always going to lead to frustration. I'm telling you. I bump into a lot of frustrated business owners who are dabbling. And then the achievement guys, the guys who achieve and just thrash and just crush it, they're usually burning out. But there are some who would just say, I'm going to master this. And there's a cadence to how they bring their experience and their learning together. And they're always wanting to improve and get better at it. That leads to momentum. And so the approach of being 1% better every day, you're 365% better at the end of the year. If you're 1% better every week, you're 52% better at the end of the year. What does that look like? What are your 1%ers? So what category does that go in? If you were to put 1%ers, is that in my business? Is that in my team? Or is that in me? Do I need to get 1% better? What does that look like for you? So here's this guy. And this is the best example I could share with you on what it looks like in terms of mastery. And so we're going to check out this quick little video. So here's this guy, and he's on this bike. And he's obviously a professional cyclist. He's on a race, but he decides to risk. And he's going to lay it out there, and maybe some people will make fun of him. Maybe they won't make fun of him, but he is deciding he is going to go for it. This is the ultimate sign of mastery. He has clarity, he has energy, he definitely has courage right now. And not only now has he have courage, he's productive because now he's passing everybody. And that productivity is now getting to the point where he's going to get the attention of this guy here. But even better yet, success level 2 starts to kick in right now. And that guy's going, what? But he doesn't stop there. He's going to pass this guy. But not only does he do that, he inspires this guy and takes it to a whole nother level. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to commit to the top 2%. Commit to success level 2. Get the kind of energy, get the kind of clarity, get the kind of courage. Make the priorities that you need to be making and taking. Continue to move forward and grow. And then eventually, he inspired the guy on the motorcycle to do it. He became a person of interest, an influencer at that point. That's really ultimately why you're here. Listen, how many people are not here? There's a lot of people who aren't here. There's a lot of people who need to be here who aren't here. But you are. So it's time to make a decision. It's time for you to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. So what does that look like? Well, here's my challenge. What if you did your job in such a way that people would pay you to watch you work? What if you were so good at what you did? Next year, they're asking you to be on the stage. They're coming to you and saying, hey, we need to have you come and tell your story of how you've grown, of what you've done, how you've taken it to success level 2. Because ultimately what happens is it gives you so many opportunities. And when you do this, when you start doing this, I bumped into something that is even more powerful, and it's the idea of building circles of influence. So all of you guys, I'm sure, are from different parts of the country, right? Is there a Pennsylvania in the house? What's that? Pennsylvania? No. Is there a few Pennsylvania folks? Cool. Is there some West Virginia folks? Is there some Ohio folks? Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? Virginia, Wisconsin. Oh, yeah, see, there's a whole pocket of you guys. Let me tell you something. Enlarging that circle of connection is so important. You guys need to be sharing ideas with each other all the time. You need to be talking. You need to be saying, hey, this is what's working for us. This is not a competition. This is a rising tide raises all the boats. If you learn something, if you see something, you should be all getting on the phone to each other saying, this is what's working. This is what's going on. Let me show you a picture of this. This is the 1911 Solvay Conference. Now, this was put together by a guy named Ernest Solvay. And here's what's very interesting. Of the people here that's standing around the table, and there's a gal here named Madame Curie. There's another guy named Albert Einstein. But basically what happened is 16 of the people in this picture won the Nobel Prize for physics. Now, what's crazy is this was 10 years before any of them won the Nobel Prize. 10 years before any of them. They were getting together, sharing ideas, sharing what they were learning with each other years before any of them ever became successful or famous. And there's a lot of famous people in here. A lot of things that we get to experience today in the world are because of these people who sat around this table in 1911. And Brussels, and Solvay, Brussels, and I mean, that was like, no one even knew it happened. No one even knew they were there. Just like here today, when 220 people gathered together and started talking about the business they're becoming, the level that they're going to go to, and the fact that they're not going to struggle through this alone, but they're going to struggle with it with everybody. We're going to share our struggles, and we're going to circulate with purpose, and we're going to be really clear about who we are and where we're going, and our energy is going to match that. We're going to do that this year. That's why for me to walk in here and say, you're going to double your sales this year is nothing. Nothing. So you got to be strategic, you got to be intentional, and you got to be disciplined. You got to bet on you. So here's my last story. So I invested in a coach. I hired a coach, and I imagine there's people in your area, there's probably people within DAC who would be a great coach for a lot of folks here. So I hired a coach when I first started my business. And I was struggling to build revenue. I had left where I was previously, and I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't know I would be doing this. And as I started venturing into it, my coach sat down with me and he says, Kevin, what is the one thing that you do that brings the biggest value to the people you coach? And I said, well, there's a program that I do, and it's really powerful, and it gets a lot of results. When I worked in the nonprofit world, I did it with my teams. It was powerful, and it was effective, and it was a game changer for our organization. And he says, what do you sell it for? And I said, $700. He says, do you want me to stay your coach? And I said, well, yes, I'm paying you. Like, what do you mean, stay my coach? He says, well, let me tell you something. I'm going to give you 1 week to sell it for $7,000. And if you don't, I'm not your coach anymore. So that freaked me out. So I thought, all right, well, I'm going to get some clarity. I got some energy. I definitely had to get some courage. And I started hustling. I started working. I circulated with purpose. And I found somebody, and I sold it for $7,000 in 1 week. And I called him up. I said, Brendan, I sold him. I sold it $7,000. He says, great, how you feel right now? I said, I feel phenomenal. This is great. He says, good, I want you to sell it for 14, and I'll give you 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I sold it for 14. All of a sudden, he comes back and he says, man, Kevin, I'm so proud of you. I'm waiting for him to go, Kevin, you're like the man. He's going, great, I want you to sell it for 25. But I'm not going to give you 2 weeks. I'm going to give you a week. In a week, I sold it for $25,000. Then 35, then 40, then 45, then 50, then 65. The same program that I sold for $700. He told me, he said, if you work with me, we're going to triple your business. We did more than triple it. It was crazy. And I've never looked back since. When I had somebody in my life who held me accountable and pushed me to be the best that I could be, and then deliver the goods. It's one thing to sell it, right? It's one thing to sell it. It's a whole nother thing to support it. It's a whole nother thing to manage it. It's a whole nother thing to bring everything to the table to get them the full experience of what it means to be successful and win at whatever it is that you're providing them. He did that for me. I'm grateful for him forever. I probably referred more work to him than I could ever refer to him. And I will tell you, it changed my life. And it made me think about how I bring that to the people I coach. Listen, folks, you all have a very special moment here today to sit down and go, we need to make a decision about not just what we're going to do, but who we're going to be. And the next level sits right on your plate. Right? You go look in the mirror, and everything in terms of what you want to become as a business and as a leader in your business comes in how you invest in yourself, and then how you invest that in the people you lead and you love and you care for. These people in your life that are your customers, that's not by chance. Those are people who have been entrusted to you. You're a steward of those relationships, of those people, because you impact their lives in a very powerful and real way. Would you agree with me? So be that. Be that. Bring the energy. Bring the joy. Honor the struggle and see what happens. And let me tell you something. When you come back next year, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to have a story to tell. And we'd better get open mic night going on for people to tell stories. Because if you do this, you're going to have a crazy, cool story. And at the end of the day, that's where it all starts. And then the impact goes on and on and on. So, folks, I appreciate you having me here. I hope I stirred the pot a little bit and got you thinking maybe in a way you haven't thought before. But I'm guarantee you this, because you have the investment that you did here today, your ability to go to the next level is 10 times whatever you're thinking about right now. Go get it. Cool deal? Give me a big woohoo. Thanks, everybody.
I guess if that doesn't leave you motivated to roll out of here and be able to conquer those 2023 sales, and just let alone your self-courage and being with your family and your friends, I don't know what will. I'm very excited. I thank you guys so much for coming to the 2023 DAC Days, celebrating our excellent year we had in 2022. Like I had said before, there's surveys in your packets. There's a tray right out on the door right over there, a red tray. Please put the surveys in there. DAC Days 2024 will be March 22nd. Friday, March 22nd will be DAC Days 2024. Again, thank you guys very much. If you guys ever need anything, please feel free to reach out to me, and hopefully everybody has a safe travel back, and come on out to the warehouse. Everybody's going to be out there, and enjoy it. Thank you. If you haven't placed and paid for your order, please meet your territory manager and get that taken care of.